In shock and having such a high price just to have a wonderful night with a woman, everyone found it a bit inconceivable. Speaking of which, their previous bid was also very crazy. They had already exceeded $10 million, but now they were forced to calm down by the sky-high price of $30 million. Everyone started discussing amongst themselves. Lester's bid is too fierce. He must win this bid. I really don't dare to think of $30 million. Only Lester from the West Coast mining industry is so rich. Tisk, he actually took out so much money for one-night romance. Should I say forthright or squandering? Speaking of which, I wasn't too calm earlier. Now, I don't want to fight anymore. Tisk, you do have the guts to fight for it. Do you dare to live with Lester's woman until you are tired of living? These people were stunned by Lester. All of them stopped bidding, and no one dared to raise their cards again. They were afraid that Lester would cause trouble for them. However, there was someone who wasn't afraid of Lester. When everyone was silent, $40 million. A loud shout caused everyone to tremble. They looked at the source of the voice once again. They saw that it was Lester in the private room next to him. Randy was standing at the side, looking at Lester with a sneer on his face. Whoa! Everyone was shocked. $40 million was a total of $10 million more than the price Lester had offered. This price was obviously even more unexpected. Is he crazy? $40 million? $40 million just to flirt with a woman? Isn't this Randy from the Banner family? He's indeed worthy of being a disciple of a super family. We have raised the price by $1 million and only $1 million, but the sir had increased the price by $10 million. Yikes! This is madness! This is madness! Lester waited for a long time, but he didn't see any movement from Harry's side. He didn't expect that Randy would follow him as soon as he bid. He even increased the bid by $10 million. Seeing the shocked reactions of the people below, Lester felt very unhappy in his heart. You want to compete with me in terms of money? Come on, do you think I'm afraid of you? $50 million. Lester shouted loudly, causing auctioneer to almost throw the hammer in his hand out. The price of $50 million was simply unimaginable. Originally, it was estimated that Issa Ivy's first auction would be worth $7 or $8 million. Who would have thought that things did not go according to the original script? The two super rich men who unexpectedly appeared here actually started to compete with each other. Looking at the current trend, the bids were all based on 10 million units. Then wouldn't the final transaction price be 70 or 80 million? The difference between 7 to 8 million and 70 to 8 million was not just one word. This was a full 10 times difference. If the auction this time was successful, then the amount of money he could get would be equal to auctioneer's hard work for a year. Lester bid $50 million. Is there anyone who wants to follow up? Auctioneer was so excited that he stammered. Randy looked at Lester again and said disdainfully, $60 million. Auctioneer was excited again. Sure enough, it was a bid of $10 million. It was too exciting. Randy bid $60 million. Is there anyone higher than this price? Fortunately, everyone in the auction hall had their own status. No one didn't know who these two were. He didn't care what auctioneer was shouting about. All of them were shocked by the spectacular bidding scene. It wasn't that terrifying to have tens of millions of dollars. If these people could come here, they wouldn't be worth billions of dollars. However, this was, after all, the first night of the auction for a woman. Although this woman was a world-class superstar, she was still a woman after all. Could it be that she had a special feeling when doing things? In fact, it was indeed very exciting. After all, it was very exciting to be able to press a superstar under one's body. It could satisfy a man's desire to conquer. But it was not worth that much money. What kind of woman could not be bought with $60 million? Why did they have to fight for Issa Ivy? Sigh, these men always like to create some emotional struggles. As long as they gain face, money is secondary. Someone shook his head and sighed as he spoke his true thoughts. $70 million, Lester shouted fiercely. By calling the price at this time, it was no longer just to get Issa Ivy. It was a fight that concerned face. As the heir of the Holsted family of West Coast, Lester would never allow himself to lose to Randy of Banner family in a public place like today. Therefore, he directly called out $70 million. As soon as Lester finished bidding, Randy did not hesitate to raise his hand and said, $80 million. Seeing the two of them competing with each other, Randy raised his hand and said $80 million. Celeste was stunned when she saw the price getting higher and higher. She hugged Harry tightly, afraid that her trembling legs would not be able to stand up and she would sit on the ground. Her face was filled with worry. It seemed like the situation was about to lose control. If the price was so high that the sky was about to explode, how could she save her best friend? She had made up her mind that if Issa wasn't willing, Randy would buy her and then find a way to pay back the money. But now that the price was about to go out of control, Celeste couldn't take out that much money to pay it back. Although she was a superstar, she earned more and spent more. Most of the money she earned was used to make her own packaging fee. After all, she was an independent celebrity. Without the company's support, she had to rely on herself. Moreover, her career had just started not long ago, so the money she could use was really not much. However, money wasn't the main thing. Celeste was more worried about Lester's attitude. This guy seemed to be determined to get Ivy. If Randy gave up on competing with him, then she really wouldn't be able to save her best friend. Harry saw Celeste hugging his arm tightly and knew that she was worried about it. He turned around and gave a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." Celeste was infected by Harry's strong and careful influence. She nodded slowly, thought to herself, yes, this was still Harry. If Randy could not deal with Lester, Harry would have no problem. When Lester heard Randy bid $80 million, his eyes widened in anger. He wasn't a prodigal who only cared about eating and drinking. Spending tens of millions for a female celebrity, he knew very well that it wasn't worth it. Although he had previously given Kiss Holiday $400 million, that money was only an investment. After shooting a movie, there would always be returns. But now that this money was spent, other than feeling good, he would not get anything else. It would definitely be a business that would lose money. The problem was that Lester didn't want to admit defeat. He could throw away the money, but he couldn't lose the reputation of his family. $100 million, I'll pay $100 million. Why don't you try competing with me again? Lester's bid stunned everyone. He didn't bid another $10 million, but increased the bid by $20 million. He raised the price from $10 million to $100 million. Everyone could see that Lester was determined to get Issa Ivy. Of course, it was also for the sake of fighting for a breath of air. He would never allow Randy to ride on his head. However, even though it was said, Lester still felt a little heartache when he took out $100 million. He gave Issa Ivy, who had been standing silently on the stage, a fierce look. He wanted to torture her tonight. He wanted to recover some of the losses from these $100 million. Everyone on the scene was shocked that the price had been raised to $100 million. Even the auctioneer was dumbfounded and couldn't say a word. Instantly, the entire auction hall fell into silence. In Harry's private room, Randy had an ugly expression on his face. He was also stunned by Lester. To be honest, $80 million was the bottom line in his heart. It was not that he could not afford it, but he felt it was not worth it to exchange so much money for a woman's first night. Although Celeste promised that if Issa Ivy was not willing, Celeste would pay him back with the money she was bought for. However, Randy was not prepared to take the money. With Celeste's current relationship with Harry, if he wanted the money, wouldn't it be a slap to Harry's face? Therefore, when Lester raised the price to $100 million, Randy hesitated. He was weighing whether he should continue to bid. The current price had exceeded the bottom line in his heart. Miss Celeste, this price. Randy turned around and gave Celeste a bitter smile. He wanted to say that he was ready to give up. Randy was not like Lester, who viewed his face more important than anything else. He did not care about this. It was a competition of personal feelings. If he lost, he would not lose a piece of meal. It was not a big deal to give up the auction. Celeste heard half of Randy's words and understood what he meant. Although he did not say it clearly, his expression showed that he did not want to give Ivy to Lester. Thinking of this, although she could not understand Randy's helplessness, after all, he had nothing to do with Issa. However, Celeste still felt very uncomfortable. Her best friend definitely did not do it willingly. It must have been something that forced her to do this kind of thing without dignity. Mr. Parker, this Lester is too ruthless. I could see that he is just like a bug in the brain. He actually threw out $100 million just for one romantic moment. This is insane, Randy said angrily. Harry smiled and shook his head. He patted Celeste's arm to signal to her to let go of his arm. Then he walked to Randy's side and took the bidding card. He said slowly, "No, he is not crazy. What? None of them understood. What did Harry want to say? 100 million for the first night? Wasn't that crazy? Then what was crazy? I'll show you what true madness is. Harry's eyes showed a trace of evil. He raised the sign, which wasn't very high, but could be heard by everyone. I'll bid 200 million. Suddenly, it was like a nuclear bomb had exploded on the ground, turning everyone into ashes. Gasps sounded in unison. Everyone was shocked by the price and even thought that they were hallucinating. I didn't hear it wrong, right? How much is it? The person beside him swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty and said, He said 200 million. Crazy. They really are crazy. Are their brains still normal? My heart. Quick, give me the medicine. The man next to him was holding his chest, which was not good. It was so uncomfortable that it almost went into shock. Fortunately, his followers were quick to react. He quickly took out emergency medicine from his bag and stuffed it into his mouth. Otherwise, this person would definitely die on the spot and become the first person to be scared to death by the price of this auction. Just now, these ordinary wealthy people had bid $1 million, but the two super rich men had bid $10 million. Now, an even more ruthless one had called out a bid of $100 million. Such an exciting and frightening thing had caused a few people who were already in poor health to die on the spot. 200 million! This person just... What kind of background does this person have? The price he offered is too scary. He's even more ruthless than the two other bidders. He's too crazy. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Lester was also shocked by Harry's generous offer. This was the first time he had seen someone who was even more unreasonable than him. In the past, Lester was used to throwing money at people. Now the situation was reversed. He had been smashed by Harry with money. To be honest, 100 million was the minimum price that Lester could bear. No matter how high his reputation was, it was not worth that much money. Randy thought it was a sure thing, but he was so scared by his own price that he retreated like a turtle. Who would have thought that Harry would suddenly appear and increase the price by 100 million in such an unreasonable way? He felt that everyone's bid had turned into a joke. So many people were dawdling for a long time before they managed to compete for 100 million, and Harry had increased the bid by another 100 million. If that wasn't a joke, then what was the point of everyone bidding just now? Lester felt that Harry must have been watching him make a fool of himself just now. Although he was very unhappy in his heart, he was also very unconvinced. He had the impulse to continue bidding against Harry at all cost, but his rationality still had the upper hand in Lester's heart. If he really bid more than 200 million, then his father would definitely break one of his legs after Lester returned. As for the other leg, it would be broken by his valiant fiancé. Thinking of the consequences of being impulsive, Lester would most likely end up in a wheelchair. Lester shivered and made a gesture of admiration toward Harry. Brother, you're awesome. I admit defeat. I hope you have a good time tonight. After saying that, Lester turned around and left. He no longer had the face to stay here longer. Just now, he had acted like he was invincible. But now, Harry had turned him into a pile of mud with just a few words. Under such circumstances, Lester wouldn't have the face to stay here any longer. How could he continue acting so arrogantly? Everyone watched the insufferably arrogant Lester leave like a defeated rooster with his face covered in dirt. Then they turned their eyes to Harry. Although it was just a light sentence, the weight of this light sentence was very frightening. Everyone present knew what $200 million was. Many people didn't even have that much liquid capital. What did this mean? This meant that the identity of this mysterious person who had bid 200 million was definitely terrifyingly high. The auctioneer's brain had already stopped working. Like Issa Ivy, he became as blank as a wooden log, as if his soul had left his body. The auctioneer, I bid. Why aren't you saying anything? When Harry's cold question came, the auctioneer shivered. He knew that Harry was not someone to be trifled with, and his performance had obviously caused him to be dissatisfied. He hurriedly apologized, then asked everyone, This bid of 200 million, is there a higher price? Everyone looked at each other, thinking that this was nonsense. Who would dare to bid? Even Lester of West Coast was defeated, who had the right to bid a higher price. Besides the 200 million prices that frightened everyone, Harry's unfathomable identity also made them feel afraid. To be able to have a private room with Harvey and Randy and even have two people serve them respectfully was obviously a figure from the heavens. Who would dare to compete with him? 200 million going once, 200 million going twice, 200 million going thrice. Deal. The auctioneer shouted 3 times according to the rules, but no one bid a higher price. 200 million for Issa Ivy's first night, which was also the night of the illegal auction. Everyone who participated in the auction would keep everything a secret and not reveal anything to the public. If outsiders were to find out about this, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. No headlines could compare to this explosive news. It was shocking. Even Harvey and Randy, who were in a private room, were frightened by Harry's crazy behavior. Mr. Parker, you actually bid 200 million? Randy never thought that Harry would give such a shocking price when he took the plate from him. Lester was so scared that he slipped away with his tail between his legs like a dog. Celeste was also dumbfounded. She knew Harry was going to help her best friend, but she didn't expect him to use such a shocking method. Mr. Parker, just for Issa Ivy's first night, isn't 200 million too expensive? Harvey also said he really couldn't understand why Harry would give such a ridiculous price. Usually, he seemed to be a very rational person, but why did he do things so unconventional today? Harry was slightly stunned and said, "Who said I want Issa Ivy's first night?" Huh? What? Everyone in the private room was dumbfounded. He spent 200 million not to get Issa Ivy's first night? Then what did Harry want? No, Mr. Parker, you're confusing me. 200 million, are you going to take back some of the cost? Randy asked in confusion. He couldn't just throw out so much money like that, right? Harry's operation made everyone confused. Harry shook his head and looked at Celeste. Issa Ivy is your best friend. Since this kind of thing happened, regardless of whether it was voluntary or not, I will help you if you want to help her. Harry's words touched Celeste to the extreme. She felt that following Harry was a blessing from her previous life. In this world, which man could help her without considering the cost? Harry, No need to say any more. Call her up and ask her what the situation is. Harry reached out his hand and interrupted Celeste's words. The procedures for the auction association were very simple. After the deal was made, one would hand over the money and the other hand over the goods. There were no cumbersome procedures. After all, it was an illegal auction, so it needed to be simple and quick. Harry transferred 200 million to the designated bank account of the auction association. Issa Ivy would belong to him tonight. Celeste went down and brought Issa Ivy to the private room. The auction association was still going on below, but after the soul-stirring auction, everyone felt that the following items were no longer attractive. Even the auctioneer, who was too excited just now, had a different person because of his unstable emotions. However, no matter how hard the auctioneer tried to introduce the next items, everyone on the scene seemed to be in low spirits. From time to time, they raised their heads to look at Harry's private room. They all wanted to know what would happen after Issa Ivy was brought in. Could it be that this mysterious sir couldn't wait to do something good here? Speaking of which, the one who came down just now was Celeste, right? It's her. I really didn't expect there to be another world-class celebrity here. This mysterious man's luck with women is not shallow. The two superstars are waiting on him. Just thinking about it makes me feel really good. I remember now. Isn't the person in the private room the one who has recently caused a stir on the internet? Celeste's rumored boyfriend. Oh my, I'm so jealous. I'm just so jealous. No one was in the mood to look at the next auction item. They were all guessing Harry's identity and how it felt to serve two superstars at the same time. In the private room, Celeste brought Issa Ivy in with a very strange expression on her face. Harry asked, "What's wrong? Why is your face so ugly?" Celeste worriedly pulled Issa Ivy from behind in front of her. Issa's condition is not normal. She looks like she has lost her soul, even though I do not recognize her. What? Are you sure it really is Issa Ivy? Randy exclaimed. His first reaction was that the so-called big star Issa Ivy was a fake. The person in front of them was not the real Issa Ivy, but a person who looked more like her. Otherwise, there was no way to explain why a world-class big star would treat herself as a commodity and let others auction her. Celeste shook her head with a solemn expression. I'm very sure that she is Issa Ivy, but I don't know why she became like this. How could it be like this? Harvey also walked to the front and carefully observed Issa Ivy's expression. Harry originally wanted Celeste to explain to her best friend that she did not need to hand over her first night, but he did not expect to encounter this kind of situation. The current Issa Ivy was like a doll that was manipulated by others. She would only respond to some simple orders. For example, if he asked her to stand, she would stand. If he asked her to sit, she would also find a chair to sit on. Even if he asked her to sing a song, she could sing her own song. However, she was unable to communicate with others. This situation was indeed very unusual. Damn it, it must be Wilson's doing. I'll go and find him and ask him about it. Randy cursed and was about to leave the room. He felt that Issa Ivy's current appearance had something to do with Wilson. She was a good person and a world-class celebrity. Now, she was acting like she had gone crazy. This was too much. Harry didn't stop Randy this time. He also wanted to know what was going on. As a boss of the auction association, even if it wasn't Wilson who did it, he must know something. Just as Randy was about to go and settle the score with Wilson, the door of the private room was open from the outside. The person who walked in was Wilson. Randy was about to look for him when he suddenly showed up, as if he was a prophet. Wilson, you came at the right time. I was just about to ask you, what happened to Issa Ivy? Why did she become like this? Did you do it? Randy asked loudly. Wilson was still smiling. He smiled at them and said, It was a misunderstanding. I knew Randy would look for me because of this. That's why I came to explain it to everyone. Then quickly, tell me, what exactly is going on? Randy said impatiently. He was too lazy to talk to Wilson. Issa Ivy's not normal now, but I am not the one who did it. When the client sent her here, she was already like this. Wilson explained. Randy was not satisfied with this answer. He said it as if he did not say it. Now everyone wanted to understand why Issa Ivy would become like this. Harry asked, The client, who is it? If Wilson did not lie, then this matter had nothing to do with him. But since there was a client, then Wilson must have seen it before. He should also know who the person who entrusted Issa Ivy to auction off her first night was. This employer, there are rules in the auction house that do not reveal the identity of the client. You're making things difficult for me. Wilson shook his head. He did not know some of the identity of the clients, but according to the rules, he could not say it out loud. After being in this business for so many years, the reason why he was able to survive for more than 10 years was because of his illegal business. Wilson relied on the word integrity. Randy said angrily, What kind of rule is this? Just tell me what I want to know. Why are you being so fussy? Wilson still shook his head. However, his smiling face gradually disappeared, replaced by a slightly cold expression. Randy, this is my boat, so you have to follow my rules. If you still want to know more about the client, I can't promise you anything else, but don't think about saying anything to me. You? Randy suddenly felt stifled and didn't know what to say. Randy knew the rules of this place very well. As long as the person who entrusted the auction wanted to keep his identity a secret, Wilson would never say it out loud. Harvey said in a flat tone, Wilson, are you sure you can't say it out loud? Even if the three of us are together, we can't match your rules? Randy continued, Yes, you're a money-minded guy. Name a price and tell us the identity of the client behind the scenes. Tell us how much you want. Just treat it as a piece of information you sold us. These words did not scare Wilson, nor did they tempt him. It was true that he loved money, but it also depended on when. Now, Randy and Harvey wanted him to say the client, but Wilson kept his mouth shut and did not talk about it. Harry saw Wilson's firm attitude and knew that he would never say it. Since he could not get any valuable information from him, Harry waved his hand and sent Wilson away. When Wilson walked out of the private room, Randy asked with concern, Mr. Parker, are you going to let Wilson go just like that? He was not willing to give up. Wilson clearly knew who the client was, but he would not tell him even if he was given benefits. He couldn't force it. This was his territory. Even if there were more people, they wouldn't be able to force it. Instead, it would only make things worse. Harry didn't want to have anything to do with Wilson right now. He was smiling in front of others, but when he attacked from behind, he was definitely a ruthless person. When he saw Randy's unwilling expression, Harry shook his head. What else can we do if we don't let him go? After all, Wilson is the owner of this cruise. It's better for us to follow the rules in other people's territory. Celeste kept talking to Issa Ivy from the side, hoping that she could return to her previous quick-witted appearance and stop being like a soulless shell. But no matter how Celeste talked to her, Issa Ivy still had a blank look on her face. This looks like she was drugged, right? Randy guessed and said. Not drugged. Wayne, who had been guarding Harry, suddenly said. Speaking of which, Wayne had been observing Issa Ivy ever since she came in. Actually, Wayne had been observing Issa Ivy ever since she appeared on the action stage. Now his sudden appearance made everyone confused. Harry raised his eyebrows and said, If it's not a drug, what is it? Harry had seen what the women in the bar would look like after being drugged, which was about 70 to 80% similar to the current Issa Ivy. Therefore, Harry was sure that this superstar must have been hit by a trick, which was why she had become like this. However, Wayne rejected this guess, and they all looked at Wayne. Randy repeated Harry's words in puzzlement. If she wasn't drugged, what was the situation? Could she have been beaten silly by someone? The current Issa Ivy was really similar to a fool. The only difference was that she was quiet and especially obedient. Wayne observed her carefully for a while before he said to Harry, Sir, if I'm not wrong, Issa Ivy was hypnotized. Hypnosis? They were shocked. Harry also felt it was unbelievable, since when did hypnosis become so real? It was as if he had invisible control over a person. It was really hard to believe. However, no matter how absurd the conclusion was, Harry still chose to believe Wayne. It was him, a super pirate from the past. Wayne said Issa Ivy was hypnotized, so there must be some basis for his judgment. It was not only Wayne who said so, even June also observed for a moment and then said, She was indeed hypnotized. Why? Is hypnosis so magical? How did you guys see it? Celeste asked in surprise. She thought it was no wonder her best friend Issa would do something so ridiculous like auctioning the first night. It turned out that she didn't make the decision herself, but was hypnotized to the point of being unable to control herself. Wayne got up and said, From the looks of it, the eyes are very obvious. After being drugged, the eyes will become blurry and the pupils will slow down due to the effects of the medicine. But now Issa Ivy's pupils are normal. Although she looks very dazed, all kinds of reflexes are normal. After saying that, everyone understood a little. It turned out that she was really hypnotized. Issa Ivy was a very normal person. She suddenly became like this. She excluded the images of the medicine and also eliminated the sudden mental shock from becoming abnormal. The only explanation was that she was hypnotized. Furthermore, Harry's two subordinates were very certain that she was hypnotized. The problem now was not to find the culprit, but to find a way to remove Issa Ivy's hypnosis. Wayne, you know the most. Do you know how to wake her up? Harry asked. None of them knew about hypnosis. They did not even know about it. That was why they felt they had nowhere to start. They did not know what to do to make Issa Ivy return to her normal state. Wayne shook his head and said with a frown, Sir, although I could see it, I can't cure it either. Issa Ivy was suffering from a very profound hypnosis. In this state, even if you hit her hard, she wouldn't wake up. Oh, how could this be? Can Issa still be saved? Celeste asked worriedly. Wayne's words scared her, and she asked again, If there really is no way to solve this, then... Yes. Right. Deep hypnosis is very troublesome, but if we don't find a way to wake her up in time, then she will sink deeper and deeper into her main consciousness, completely falls asleep, and then she will only become more and more stupid. Wayne said a cruel reality. Is there really no way to solve it? Harry asked. Wayne thought for a moment and said, Of course there is a way. Although deep hypnosis seems to be powerful, it is also easy to solve. Her current state is like her subjective consciousness is locked into a safe. As long as you know the password left by the person who hypnotized her, you can easily let her out of the hypnosis. What he said was very mysterious, making the few of them dumbfounded. It's simple. Then how do we know this password? Now she doesn't even know the sleeping hypnosis, Randy said. Wayne nodded. That's true. The password to undo the hypnosis might be a snap of a fingers, a whistle, or some other hints, but if we can't find the person who hypnotized her, we have no way to guess. The person who hypnotized her is too vicious. Issa is a good person. She would never offend anyone and would always be nice to everyone. I didn't expect her to be treated like this. Celeste saw that she couldn't find any hope to undo the hypnosis, so she angrily said, "After all the talking, it is actually the person to undo the hypnosis that needs to be tied. The best way to find the person who hypnotized Issa Ivy." Harry thought for a while and felt a little conflicted in his heart. If it was easy to find him, he would have known who it was a long time ago. However, Wilson, who knew the situation, refused to reveal even a half a word. Harry couldn't think of any other way to find out who this person was. This wasn't Maryland, but Harry's intelligence department could help him investigate any news at any time. In the open sea outside of Florida, even if Harry wanted to do something, he couldn't do it due to the lack of manpower. Randy said impatiently, "In the end, we still have to find Wilson. I will call someone over right now. I believe that I can pry open his mouth." As he spoke, he took out his phone and prepared to call someone over. Although this was the open sea, it was not far from Florida. If Randy's subordinates received the notice, they would be able to rush over here very quickly. However, Harry raised his hand to stop Randy. Since Wilson didn't want to say anything, it would be useless even if Wilson forced him. This kind of ambitious person had always had a firm mind and wouldn't change his tone because of Harry's request or coercion. Moreover, there were also many people on the cruise that belonged to Wilson. There were roughly 1,000 of them. If Harry and Randy called their subordinates over, it were very likely that they would not receive any goods. Instead, it would cause the relationship with Wilson to worsen, and both parties would have a bloody fight on the ship. Harry really didn't want to see such a worst-case scenario, so he said to Wayne, "Is there no other way besides finding the person who hypnotized Issa Ivy?" Wayne hesitated and said, "Yes, it was not that there was no other way, sir. You have never heard of a person with the nickname Spiritual Hacker?" "What? Who was this person?" Harry knew about hackers. Stephen was a super hacker, but with the word spiritual, Harry did not understand. "What is a spiritual hacker?" Celeste also asked curiously. Everyone was interested in this nickname. It sounded pretty awesome. Wayne saw that no one had heard of it before, and even June did not know about this person. After all, June was a newly trained super guard of the Parker family. She had just followed Harry into society. Although she was strong enough, there were many things that she wasn't as knowledgeable as Wayne. "Sir, our brains are actually like a supercomputer. Many computers or servers with passcodes can be cracked or hacked by hackers like Stephen." "Ah, I understand." Before Wayne could finish, Randy shouted, "You mean Issa Ivy is now like a computer with a password ready to be put in. Although we don't know the password, we can find a hacker to crack the password, right?" "Yes, the spiritual hacker has this ability. Those hypnotists are like programmers who specialize in hypnotizing people and then operate according to the program set up. This spiritual hacker is a more brilliant programmer. Not only does he know how to hypnotize people, but he also knows how to crack other people's hypnosis." Wayne nodded and said, His words stunned everyone. They did not expect the world to be like this. There's such a magical thing, but thinking about it made sense. Although they didn't understand hypnosis, but they had heard of it before. There were also many people in this industry. However, Wayne used people as a computer metaphor. He could even hypnotize people to set up actions, and there were even people who specialized in cracking it. Just thinking about it made one's hair stand on end. Harry did not think too much about it. He could put aside things that he did not understand. Now was not the time to be interested in hypnosis. He asked, "Then where can we find this spiritual hacker?" Wayne spread his hands. "It's hard to say. This person's whereabouts are unknown. I can't know his exact whereabouts either. After talking for a long time, he turned out to be another person who couldn't be found. Isn't it all in vain?" Randy said helplessly. Neither of the two solutions could be implemented, and neither could be found. Wayne said with a smile, "Actually, it's not like we can't find him at all. Their spiritual hacker is active in Florida, and he basically never goes far. I knew a few places he often goes. If we wait for him in advance, I think we will most likely find him." "He's actually in Florida? This is great." Celeste once again had hope. Although what Wayne said just now was very scary, there was actually a hacker in this world who could treat a person's brain like a computer. However, everyone also understood that although this kind of hypnotist looked very powerful, they actually didn't need to worry too much. Because whether it was hypnosis or decoding, it required a large amount of preparation work and a long period of hypnosis. It wasn't something that could hypnotize a person with just a glance. If it was really that powerful, then this world would have long been ruled by hypnosis. Harry said, "Since we can confirm that he's in Florida, then it will be easy. We have to find him even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground." "Yes, sir." Since they had already decided on a solution, they no longer surrounded Issa Ivy. Harry let Celeste take care of her while he continued to participate in auction association. The mysterious server of the AGO technology company was about to start filming. This was Harry's goal. He had just spent $200 million to buy Issa Ivy. It was just a casual purchase. Harry wanted to buy that server. Apart from curiosity, he also had a special premonition. He had a feeling that there must be something inside. After all the goods were sold, Harry used $10 million to buy a purple pearl necklace as a gift to Celeste. The next time was when the goods were auctioned in secret. The rules of the auction changed a little. After the auctioneer finished introducing the goods, everyone did not need to raise their cards and bid. Instead, they entered the special website and anonymous bid. The goods with the highest bid would belong to whoever gave the highest price within the specified time. Although they were all anonymous, they could still see the price changing with the customers. It was just as Randy had said. There would be intense competition for some goods that were secretly auctioned, but there were even more people who did not care. Harry did not pay attention to anything else. Instead, he focused his attention on the server. The base price of this server was $10 million, and each bid was not to be lower than $100,000. Harry looked at the price for a long time, but there wasn't any change to it. It seemed like no one wanted to buy it. However, just as this thought emerged in his mind, Harry's eyes suddenly tightened. The number changed from $10 million to $10,100,000. Someone had made a bid, and it was the lowest bid. Mr. Parker, the server you want is also being bought by someone." Randy was looking at other goods, but his eyes caught a glimpse of the change in the price of the server. Harvey also saw it. He could not understand why other people would buy the server other than Harry, who was interested in it. "Who is the bidder?" Harry rubbed his chin and smiled. "I don't care who it is. Anyway, I'm going to buy it. It's his bad luck to run into me." As he spoke, he pressed the virtual button to raise the card. The price immediately rose. It wasn't that Harry couldn't offer a higher price, but if he were to secretly bid, he would need to have some tricks up his sleeve, or even more tricks than the open bid. Putting aside the fierce competition for the products, this server also had a set of servers. Harry was the only one competing with someone he didn't know. If he started with a higher price, it would let the other side know that he was anxious and grasp his own mentality. Of course, everything in the auction could still be discussed with money. No matter what kind of tricks he used, it would not be as effective as having more money. But speaking of which, the most important thing was that he could buy the goods he wanted the most with the least amount of money in the auction. If the other party saw that he was not as rich as him, but had seized the mental state of his heart and deliberately caused him to raise the price, Harry would have spent a lot more money. Therefore, as soon as the bidding started, Harry chose to bid tentatively to see what kind of reaction the other party would have. After Harry bid, the other side should have been stunned for a moment. They didn't expect that there would be someone who wanted to buy this server. After a while, the other side also made a bid. It turned into $10.3 million. Sure enough, the other side was very cautious and wanted to test Harry. "This person is very interesting. A group of ordinary people are actually bidding against you, Mr. Parker." Randy did not have anything else to buy. Since he had nothing to do, he sat next to Harry and watched him operate. Harry smiled and said, "Maybe the other side is also talking about us." "Maybe the other side knows some secrets in the server," Harvey said. "Well, that's also a possibility," Harry said after thinking for a while. It would be fine if the person who was bidding against him only wanted to pick up some scraps, but if he knew that there was some secret in the server, then he wouldn't be able to bid for the server without paying a price. Harry bid once again, and it was still an increase of $100,000. The other side responded very quickly. They immediately followed. The two of them, who couldn't see each other, started a heated fight like this. However, the two of them were still restraining themselves. They had been raising the bid by $100,000. After a while, the price had already risen to $15 million. Randy shook his head. If this price is really a set of ordinary servers, it will be a huge loss. Mr. Parker, do you think Wilson will be the one competing with you for this price? Harvey was stunned. This is not very possible. It is possible to add 1 or 2 stakes in the popular auction items to make the atmosphere livelier. This server is an auction item that cannot be any less popular. Is there a need to specially find a slot? Harry also agreed with Harvey's statement. This person should not be a scapegoat. I think he is clearly a real buyer when he bids. While the three of them were discussing, another bidder appeared on the auction page of the server. The bidder raised the bid to $2 million as soon as it appeared. Harry and the others were stunned for a moment. After a long while, Randy said loudly, "This guy's definitely a scapegoat. It's too obvious." His basis was that Harry had been in a deadlock with the competitor. The scapegoat had come to cause trouble in order to break the deadlock and make a quick deal with the other party. He cannot side with anyone. After all, whether it was Harry or another person who bought it, the bidders would be the ones who profited. Even if the goods were to be auctioned at the base price, the bidders would still be able to make a lot of money. This was because the base price had always been set very high. Sure enough, after a third party made a bid, Harry was still able to keep his cool. The person who called out the price at the start was no longer able to keep his cool. He immediately increased the bid by $2 million. Harry smiled. He had thought that this person would be able to keep his cool. Now, he could no longer hold it in. He smiled and raised the bid once, and still raised the bid by $100,000. When the third bidder saw the new bid, he raised the bid by another $2 million. Harry waited for a long time, but he didn't see the bidder in the beginning raise the bid, so he first increased the bid by $100,000. He made up his mind that no matter who bid, he would always increase the bid by $100,000. This method was very safe and very annoying. $100,000 might seem inconspicuous, but it would often raise the price very high unknowingly. It would be better to directly give a price that the bidder could not bear and cut their throat with a sword. Just like that, the three of them started bidding against each other. The server with a starting bid of $10 million had unknowingly reached the price of $20 million. Randy hesitated and said, "Mr. Parker, why don't we stop bidding? I think the price will continue to rise. It's just a set of servers. There's really no need to spend so much money to buy it." Harry had already spent $200 million tonight. Moreover, he had bought a useless superstar and had to spend a lot of effort to save her. This was obviously a huge loss. Now that Harry still wanted to continue paying a high price to buy a set of servers that might not be of much use, Randy advised Harry to stop. However, Harry shook his head. "I've decided that I must get what I want. It's only $20 million now. It doesn't matter if it continues to increase. It's not like I can't afford it." This server was very likely the same as what Randy had said. There was nothing valuable in it, but since Harry had already decided to buy it, it was impossible for him to give up halfway. After all, before the box was open, no one knew what was inside. Perhaps there would be a big surprise waiting for him. Seeing Harry's firm attitude, they didn't continue to persuade him. At this time, the anonymous person who started bidding suddenly called out a price of $30 million, adding another $10 million on the basis of $20 million. Harry smiled. This person clearly could not keep his cool anymore. He calmly raised the sign and added another $100,000. The third bidder also added $100,000 after a moment of silence. Harry could tell that this person was not asking for it. He should really want to buy the server. Unfortunately, he did not have much money. He did not dare to bid another million like before. Instead, he cautiously chose the lowest price. He tried to get the server at the lowest price possible by crossing the bottom line of the price other competitors had to pay. "The competition is quite fierce. Is there really something in this server?" Harvey said in a very strange manner. Harry shook his head. "Who knows, but judging from the looks of the other two men, they must have something." After all, this server was something left behind by the mysterious AGO technology company. Wayne being able to recognize it did not mean that others did not know about it. There must be someone who knew about this secret and wanted to take a picture to see what was inside. The other party has bid $25 million. Harry raised the plate again and added another $100,000. This auction obviously made the other two anonymous angry. This method of playing was simply too shameless. Forcing the two people to raise the price to $30 million again, Harry felt that it should be about time. He also did not want to raise the price by $100,000. This time, he directly raised the bid to $40 million. The two competitors were stunned by Harry's sudden attack. They did not make a sound for a long time. Harry estimated that it was very likely that his price had exceeded the bottom line of his opponent's heart and was currently debating whether he should follow or not. After waiting for a long time, both of them did not make any moves. When the countdown ended, the AGO server was bought by Harry at a price of $40 million. Randy clicked his tongue. $40 million. It's 4 times the normal price. If there's no valuable information in it, Mr. Parker, you will suffer a huge loss this time. He had always felt that this server would definitely be a money-losing deal. In the past, the auctions here often took out items that were not worth much but could fool people to get high auction fees. Harry smiled and said, "Who cares? I already bought it anyways." Because it was a secret auction, after Harry paid the $40 million bid, the server temporarily could not get it. One was because the size was too big, so the 4 of them stacked together was equivalent to the size of a large room. Another reason was the secret auction guaranteed the privacy of the customers. If such a large item was moved in front of Harry now, the first thing that would be attracted would definitely be those who did not manage to buy it covetously. Therefore, the auction association would temporarily keep it under control after the auction and send it over whenever Harry needed it. In just one night, Harry had spent a huge sum of $240 million. If it was in an ordinary family, it would be an amount that the family would never be able to spend in 3 lifetimes. However, Harry did not feel any heartache at all. This amount of money was just a drop in the bucket for his huge circulating funds. Celeste was in a hurry to return to Florida to find her best friend, spiritual hacker, to save her. Harry had already bought the things that he was interested in. He was no longer interested in playing the other 2 rounds of the auction association. Celeste was even less interested in staying here. Originally, Harry wanted to bring her out to relieve her boredom, but who would have thought that she would encounter such a mess? She bid farewell to Randy and Harvey first. Harry brought his men back to Florida first. The 2 of them still had things to buy behind them, so they could not go back with Harry. They stayed on the cruise ship. Harry informed the auction association and asked the staff to move the server onto the narwhal at night. Luckily, the super yacht was big enough. It could fit a server the size of a house. If it was just a normal yacht, it would be troublesome to transport it back from the open sea. Wilson only cared about his own land and did not have any good intentions to help transport large amounts of goods. After loading the server, Harry left the small yacht in the dock of the narwhal for Randy and Harvey to use when they returned. After bidding farewell, the 2 of them drove the yacht back to Florida. On the way back, Harry took out the purple pearl necklace he bought and gave it to Celeste. She was so touched that her eyes turned red. This precious, natural purple pearl necklace was worth $10 million. Celeste had never received such a valuable gift before. She originally wanted to reject it, but Harry did not wait for her to say it. He pulled Celeste into his arms and forcefully put it on her neck. "You are really suitable to wear this necklace." After putting the necklace on, Harry took 2 steps back and looked at her for a while before saying with a smile. Celeste lowered her head shyly and said softly, "Why did you buy such a valuable thing?" "I bought it because it looks good. Now it seems that I see it with it on you. It fits you quite well." The 2 of them warmed up for a while and did not do too much activity. Celeste's heart was currently tied to her best friend's condition and her mood was not very good. Harry also very thoughtfully coaxed her. After more than 2 hours, the narwhal was sailing at full speed, arrived at the deck of the Florida Grand Hotel. It was already midnight, and Harry did not return to the hotel. Anyway, there was a luxurious bedroom on his yacht that was not inferior to the hotel's, so he was too lazy to run back in the middle of the night. After arranging Celeste and Issa Ivy to sleep, Harry did not feel sleepy for the time being and went to the warehouse that stored the server. As Harry's subordinates, Wayne and June, naturally followed along, if Harry didn't rest, they naturally couldn't leave Harry to rest. They circled around the server. Harry did not really know how to use this kind of advanced electronic equipment, even though it was from a few years ago. Nowadays, supercomputers were basically replaced every 18 months, but the things left behind by the AGO technology were also the most advanced at that time, and it couldn't be said to be outdated and obsolete now. Do the two of you know how to turn it on? Sir, let me do it. I know a little about servers, Wayne said. Harry nodded and took a step back, letting Wayne step forward. This kind of large server required a large amount of electricity to operate. Fortunately, the power system on the narwhal was enough to support the server's operation. Wayne connected the power, and after operating it for a while, the server started operating. On one side of the operating table, Wayne looked at the screen in front of him and was stunned for a moment. He smiled bitterly at Harry and said, Sir, I'm afraid you won't be able to figure out what is stored in the server tonight. What's going on? The system has set a password. If I don't know it, I won't be able to enter. Wayne pointed at the screen and said. This was not surprising. Harry also felt that this set of top-class servers was from the mysterious AGO technology company. It was impossible not to set a password on the servers of his own company. Although Wayne knew a lot, he was not good at cracking the password on such a large server. However, even if there were passcodes blocking the way, Harry did not really care. Wayne could not crack it, but he had someone who could crack the password. Stephen seemed to have been so bored recently that he was in a panic. He had nothing to do in the company all day long. Now he could use this opportunity to call him to Florida. Since there is a password, let's wait for Stephen to crack it, Harry said. Yes, sir. Stephen is really good at this. Wayne agreed with Harry's approach. If there was someone in this world who could crack the password of a large server, Stephen would definitely be one of them. Those who could crack the password of a large server were the smartest people in the world. Harry looked at the time. It was already early in the morning. Stephen should have fallen asleep long ago. But it also meant that it was already early in the morning. This guy had always had the habit of being a night owl. Harry tried to call Stephen, but he did not expect to be picked up immediately. Harry, what do you want from me? Sure enough, Stephen did not go to rest at all. Instead, he was standing beside the computer in high spirits. When he saw the phone call from Harry, he immediately picked it up. Stephen, I have a set of servers here that I need you to crack the password on. Come over tonight. I'll ask Mr. Cross to arrange a plane for you. After listening to what Harry said, Stephen did not feel that it was very troublesome in the middle of the night. Instead, he was extremely excited. After being idle for so long, he finally had something to do. Harry called Mr. Cross again and asked him to arrange a plane to send Stephen over as soon as possible. After making the arrangements, Harry said to June and Wayne, You guys go and rest. Don't wait on me anymore at this late hour. After giving the instructions, Harry returned to the main bedroom on the ship and took advantage of the time to rest. According to the time, if Stephen left Maryland now, he would arrive when he woke up. The next morning, Stephen arrived on Harry's ship in Florida. When Harry brought him to the server, Stephen confidently stepped forward and opened the password. However, he stopped after a short while. Harry saw that the server screen was still showing the scene of entering the password, so he asked in confusion, What's wrong? Is it very troublesome? Stephen turned to look at Harry and said, It is indeed a little troublesome. This password is 128 combination codes. It would take more than a day or two to forcefully decipher it. How long will it take? That's not for sure. 3 to 5 months, maybe even a year? Harry frowned, obviously not expecting it to be so troublesome. However, Stephen smiled and said, But don't worry. This kind of server password is just a decoration in my hands. If it's too troublesome to crack it by force, I can directly bypass the password and use a loophole to hack in. Harry also smiled. You bastard, don't pant when talking in the future. Hurry up and start. What are you waiting for? I can't wait to see what is stored inside. Stephen nodded and turned around to continue. He did not ask Harry about the source of the server. In the middle of the night, he sent a private jet from Maryland to bring him to Florida. Stephen understood that this server obviously had some background. Otherwise, it wouldn't have attracted Harry's attention. After a short while, Stephen happily said, It's done. He bypassed the server password and successfully entered the server. As a top hacker, most of the time, he didn't have to crack the password in front of him. Only by hacking through the same loopholes could he be considered a top hacker. In the past, when Stephen hacked into the U.S. Department of Defense server, he didn't care about the password at all. So, unreasonable, he took a detour and ran in. Hearing Stephen's movement, Harry, who was beside him, immediately walked up and asked, "What's inside?" This server had given Harry a lot of trouble. Not only had he spent a price 4 times higher than the world, but he had also even dragged Stephen here in the middle of the night. If there was nothing inside, Harry would really suffer a huge loss this time. However, when Harry asked Stephen what was inside, Stephen didn't answer for a long time, as if his acupuncture point had been pointed. He just stood there, motionlessly. "Stephen, what's wrong? Why aren't you saying anything?" Harry asked curiously. He walked to the front of the server screen and saw that it was filled with the data that he could not understand. After asking the professional Stephen, he did not get an answer for a long time. Stephen did not hear Harry talking to him at this time. Instead, he kept muttering, "This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible." "What is impossible? Can you explain it clearly, kid?" Harry asked. Although Stephen did not bother to deal with his image, he still sat in front of the computer all day long, messing around. However, he did not panic every time something big happened. He always helped Harry deal with it very well. But today, it was very strange. Stephen's condition seemed very unusual. Harry did not know what kind of evil he was. After he hacked into the server, he became shocked, and then was petrified. After Harry asked a few questions, Stephen slowly recovered. He turned to Harry and asked in disbelief, "Harry, where did you get this server?" "I bought it from the auction. Is there a problem?" Stephen sighed heavily. "There is a big problem. There is a complete artificial intelligence program stored inside." "What?" Harry was not surprised, but Wayne was shocked. He thought the server would store some AGO technical information, but he did not expect it to be a complete artificial intelligence. Wayne immediately knew the value of this and exclaimed, "There were high and low artificial intelligence. Low-level artificial intelligence could only be displayed through large data calculations. But everyone believed that if it was an ordinary artificial intelligence, Stephen wouldn't be so shocked. It must be that kind of top-level artificial intelligence that could shock even a super hacker like him. Harry, you bought good stuff this time. No, it should be said that you got a huge bargain. This artificial intelligence is too perfect. Just by looking at these complex neutral algorithms, you can tell that it is definitely not ordinary." Stephen praised. In fact, although the artificial intelligence in this server did not awaken, Stephen can tell how unusual it was from the data in the background. All kinds of complicated program codes and genius organization structure made Stephen gasp in amazement. "Artificial intelligence? Is this server very special?" Harry asked in confusion. "It's more than special. It's not an exaggeration to call it artificial life, but..." Stephen said, not wanting to give up. "But what?" "It doesn't make sense for such a high-level artificial intelligence to be stored in this server. Based on the calculations level of this server, the artificial intelligence can only display less than 1,000th of its true strength." Stephen was very sure that what he saw was an unbelievable artificial intelligence that surpassed the current technology. However, no matter how perfect this artificial intelligence was, it was still not possible to display its true strength without good hardware facilities. "What do you mean?" Harry asked. "If you want to fully display the strength of this artificial intelligence, it is impossible to rely on this server. Only the most advanced super quantum computer can do it. This is an artificial intelligence that surpasses human beings. It does not have the computing speed of a quantum computer to support it. Its power can't be displayed." Harry was a little puzzled. Let's not talk about the AGO technology created such a super modern artificial intelligence. Just putting such a super technology in this very ordinary server was something very hard to understand. Not to mention that the disappearance of this AGO technology was too mysterious, and it even left such a valuable artificial intelligence outside. This matter had a strange atmosphere from head to toe. but Harry felt that if he couldn't figure it out, then he shouldn't waste any more time. In any case, this server, including the artificial intelligence inside, was now Harry's property. He wasn't afraid that someone would come and demand it back. Stephen briefly told Harry about the preciousness of this artificial intelligence. Harry wasn't an expert. He did not understand, but there was one thing he understood. According to Stephen, this artificial intelligence technology was ahead of the entire world by a few decades. It could be said to be an out-and-out product of future technology. But now it really appeared in front of everyone. No one would have thought that the AGO technology would leave behind such a powerful thing. "What's the use of this artificial intelligence?" Harry asked. He had always been modest about things that he did not know. He would not let himself pretend to know nothing. Even if he asked his subordinates, he did not know what it meant. If he did not know, then he did not know. Nowadays, societal occupations were so complicated, it was impossible for an all-arounder to appear. Of course, Harry was no exception. He didn't know anything about electronic devices and programs. He just asked Stephen where this artificial intelligence could be used. Stephen said, "There are too many uses. What do you want to think of? There was nothing that it couldn't do, and the efficiency was outrageously fast." Seeing that Harry still didn't quite understand, Stephen gave an example. "Just like the artificial intelligence in Iron Man, Jarvis?" Speaking up to this point, Harry understood the value of this artificial intelligence. If Stephen was right, this artificial intelligence could help with scientific research, life support, and even operate weapons. It was simply a super all-purpose assistant. This time, he really picked up a treasure. A mere 40 million was enough to buy such an awesome existence. Harry was also stunned by his own good luck. This artificial intelligence was not something that could be measured by price. It was a priceless treasure. "Should I wake it up now? It might be a bit slow. However, this is also because of the server hardware problem," Stephen asked. "Wake it up and let me take a look." Harry nodded. Stephen continued to operate the camera and microphone. If he wanted to interact with this artificial intelligence, he also needed some information transmission and equipment to gather. The camera and microphone were like the eyes, ears, and mouth of this artificial intelligence. With these, he could communicate with it normally. As the awakening progress bar gradually reached 100%, the entire server's operation speed became faster and faster. It even produced a buzzing sound that was almost too much to bear and was very loud. Stephen explained, "This is what I meant when I said hardware can't keep up with the operation speed. This server is not enough to support the operation of the entire artificial intelligence. It's really hard to imagine who would store such an awesome thing into an old server." Even Harry and Wayne could not figure out the reason behind this. The AGO technology had been mysterious from the beginning, but now it had disappeared without a trace. The only thing left behind was this super artificial intelligence, which made Harry sigh with emotion. An artificial intelligence was already so powerful, and it had exceeded the current technology by a few decades. Could the legendary AGO technology only have artificial intelligence? It was hard to imagine how much more advanced technology was hidden in the AGO that developed such a powerful artificial intelligence. However, with their mysterious disappearance, these black technologies that were very likely to exist, no one knew when they would be able to see the light of day again. Hello, number 89757 is very happy to be at your service. Do you have any instructions? After awakening the artificial intelligence, this voice called number 89757 immediately greeted Harry. It should have determined that Harry was the owner of this place, while the others were merely followers. Therefore, the first thing it said after waking up was to Harry. Harry has seen such a smart artificial intelligence. There were 4 people here, and it could actually tell who the most important person was. Many humans could not differentiate between the main and the secondary under the appropriate circumstances. This artificial intelligence clearly had very high intelligence. Unfortunately, just like what Stephen had said, the backward hardware limited this artificial intelligence. As it spoke, the server's alarm system lit up a series of alarms indicating that the CPU had been overrun. Stephen quickly put the artificial intelligence back into sleep. If he continued, the computer would explode. We can't let her continue running. This server can't withstand such a huge amount of data calculations. Once the hardware is burned down, the artificial intelligence will be damaged as well. After saying that, Stephen decisively closed the artificial intelligence and server. Harry felt like he was not satisfied yet. He also knew that the hardware could not be forced to operate. If the program was not damaged, then it would be irreversible. This artificial intelligence, along with the mysterious disappearance of the AGO technology, all the original black technology had disappeared, leaving behind only this priceless treasure. Once it was damaged, it might not be able to repair it anymore. Although Stephen could crack the server, he could also see that this artificial intelligence was extraordinary. However, he was just a hacker after all. If he were to create such a super artificial intelligence, it would be difficult for him. Such a powerful technological product, it was not something that could be created by one or two people. There had to be a huge team to create it. Well, that's true. This server isn't suitable for artificial intelligence, but quantum computers are still in the initial stage of research and development. There's no mature product yet, right? Harry asked. Stephen sighed. Yeah, that's the problem. Without a quantum computer, this artificial intelligence can only sleep. It's like having a powerful soul, but no body to use. 4 big words appeared in Harry's mind. It was born at the wrong time. This artificial intelligence appeared too early. The current electronic computer could not satisfy its huge computing data. Only the most advanced quantum computer was the most suitable body. It can only be seen and can't be used? This is a bit confusing, Harry said helplessly. Stephen said, You can't say that either. Quantum computers are developing very quickly now. Actually, the technical level is already very mature. The only problem is that we haven't created the first real prototype yet. I will pay attention to this area. I will find the most suitable equipment for this artificial intelligence as soon as possible. Harry nodded and said. Although it was just a glimpse, Harry already knew that this artificial intelligence was definitely extraordinary. With it as an assistant, he might be able to become an Iron Man in real life. Therefore, Harry was interested in this quantum computer. The earlier he got it, the earlier he would be able to use this super intelligent assistant. Harry said to Stephen, All right, let's do it today. You must be very tired after working all night. Eat something and go to bed early. Stephen was indeed very tired. He did not rest for the whole night. When he rushed over from Maryland, he immediately cracked the server. Now that he felt tired, he did not refuse. He found some food on the ship, and after filling his stomach, he found a bedroom to rest in. The matter of the server had finally come to an end. The artificial intelligence in the server would not be able to serve Harry for a short period of time. However, Harry believed that it would not be too far away from him getting the quantum computer and letting the artificial intelligence see the light of day again. He could put this matter aside for now. Now that it was dawn, it was time for Harry to settle Issa Ivy's matter. Wayne, ask George to transfer a team of people to find that spiritual hacker. The sooner we find him, the better. Bring him here, Harry ordered. Yes, sir, but, Wayne hesitated for a moment. But what? I only know the spiritual hacker, but I'm not familiar with him. He has a tough personality. What if, they don't want to come? A capable person's temper was not small either. The spiritual hacker was no exception. Although this possibility might also appear, Harry believed that he still had a way to deal with this kind of person. Why don't I tie them up if they don't agree? Wayne tried to say. Harry raised his hand and said, We can't force them. We invited people to treat the disease and save people. We have to be polite to them. If they feel disgusted, what if they don't do their best to treat Issa Ivy? You're right. Then I will lower my attitude and invite them over. Well, how about this? You get in touch with them after you find them. If they don't want to come, then just let them know. I'll personally invite them over. Harry thought for a moment and said, Yes, sir. Your subordinate understands. Wayne turned around and got off the boat. He wanted to go to the hotel and find George to borrow people. He arranged for them to wait at a few places where spiritual hackers often went. Luckily, Harry called George and the others over. Now, it was very convenient to have enough people here to do anything. If George and the others weren't here, Wayne couldn't be able to find them in a few places at the same time. Harry, has Wayne gone to find that spiritual hacker? Celeste had just woken up, and when she walked out, she saw Wayne leaving. Yes, find and cure Issa Ivy as soon as possible. All right, how is she now? She is still sleeping, and her mental state is very bad. She has been feeling groggy since last night, Celeste said worriedly. Wayne said that the longer we drag it out, the greater the damage to Issa Ivy's mind. But don't worry, I'll definitely find that spiritual hacker and invite them over. Yes, I believe you. Celeste was very confident in Harry. She felt that there was nothing Harry could not do in this world. The reason why Harry spared no effort to help Issa Ivy was mainly because of this. Because of Celeste. He and Celeste were now as close as glue. He did not want this outrageously beautiful woman to have a worried look on her face. Because of this, Harry did not hesitate to spend a large sum of money to buy Issa Ivy and let his subordinates find the spiritual hacker who could cure her. Sir, it's time for you to eat breakfast. June used the kitchen and ingredients on the boat to make a breakfast and brought it over. Yes, let's eat together, Harry called out. I want to see if Issa is awake. If she is awake, then let her have a piece, Celeste said. After a while, she brought Issa Ivy, who was still in a daze, to the dining room. Celeste, June, and Issa Ivy, who was also a super beauty, were also there. 3 peerless beauties sat beside Harry and ate breakfast with him. If others saw such a beautiful scene, they would definitely be envious to death.